What's up, guys? Dylan Coates here, and welcome to day 21 of Advent of Code 2020 in Python. Now, I know that I haven't yet uploaded day 20 yesterday, and that's because yesterday's question, I think, is by far the hardest question so far. And I've solved part one, but I'm still working on part two, and I want to bring you guys a complete solution. So I'll upload it at a later date once I finish it, but I wanted to at least get this one out for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into day 21. So today, allergen assessment. So we reached the train's last stop, but we need some food for our journey. We don't speak the local language, so we can't read the ingredients list, but we can read the allergens. So we're going to get, it looks like a list, like so, with some ingredients and some food. And the first step is to determine which ingredients can't possibly contain any of the allergens. And then, so of those safe ingredients, how many times do they occur? So I think the way that I'm going to go about solving this question is, for example, this soy here, or this dairy, could be any of these ones. But dairy is also in this one. So we can figure out that dairy must be the one that is shared between these two, like so. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out which allergen goes to which ingredient, and then of all the ingredients that are left, we count up how many times that those occur. And I believe that'll be our answer. So let's go ahead and get our puzzle input. It looks pretty scary today. And we can go ahead and get started. So the first step, of course, is to open up our inputs. And we'll say data is equal to file.readlines, and data is equal to line.strip. Whoops. Okay. For line and data. And now I think the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to parse out. Well, I want to. So each block of text here. Let's go ahead and scoot this over. So each block of text here is going to be some ingredients, and then eventually, yeah, it says okay, like contains fish. So I want to separate the like this block into a tuple. One tuple will contain all the ingredients, and then one tuple will contain the allergens. So I think the way that we're going to do this here is we can find the index of this, and we will say okay, so for line, let's say for food in data, and we will say for, well, so we're just going to call x is equal to the food.index contains, and then contains is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I can count, 8 letters long. So we will say that the ingredients of the food is going to be equal to food, and then everything up until x minus 1, because so x will give us this index right here, and minus 1 will give us this index. So we only want to keep everything before the parenthesis. And then we will say that the allergens are equal to the food, and then everything after x plus, and it's 8 long. So let's do x plus 8. And we're also going to, okay, put in our colon. And then I think we're also going to split these up into list. And then we'll say foods dot append, and we'll make it a tuple here, ingredients, comma, allergens. So now if we go ahead and say for food in foods, let's see what that gives us here. The first step to programming is knowing how to spell. Okay, so here you can see, for example, we have our list of ingredients and then the list of associated allergens. Okay, that's pretty good. So now we are going to, I think, determine which food goes with which, or which ingredient goes with allergen. So I think we're going, so if an allergen, or if a certain food has only one associated allergen, then we can check all the other foods to find the ingredients that they have in common, and then so eventually we'll be able to narrow down which ingredient goes to which allergen. So we're going to say, so solved ingredients is going to be equal to a dictionary, and then there's a potential that on the first go through, dairy could match like 3 things in here, and then it could match 3 things in here. So it's not guaranteed that we'll only have one possibility right at the beginning. So we're going to also have unsolved. And then we're going to say for I in range length of foods. And we're going to say if the length of the certain foods, whichever food we're on, and then we want the ingredients list, or the allergens list. So if there's only one allergen, then we'll go ahead and check. Our current allergen that we're checking is then equal to foods I 1, and then the only thing in the list is at index 0. And so then we will say for, I guess we'll check if cur not in solved. So if we haven't found it already, then, so of each food, we're going to collect the index of that food within the foods list. If that, so if that food has the same allergy in it. So for example, if we're checking dairy, then we want all of the indexes in the food list where the allergens contain dairy. So we're going to say, so indexes is equal to that. And then so if cur not unsolved, then we'll say for j in range length of foods, if cur, so if the allergen we're checking is in foods j allergens list, then indexes dot append j, and we also want it, what is going on here, in, then and we want to make sure that the index that we're looking on is, so we want to make sure that the index of this cur is not, because obviously they're going to be the same, but we don't want to check that a certain food, or like if an ingredient comes from a food, we don't want to check the same food twice. So indexes dot append j, and then we will say if, well, the possible ingredients to start is going to be equal to foods I 1, and then so basically what we're going to do, so to start, if we're on this I, and then the possible and the I has only one allergy, the food has only one allergen, then that is our current allergen we're checking. And the list of possible ingredients that it could be is the associated ingredients with that first one. And then we're going to loop through all the other foods, all the other ingredients for foods that could potentially have that allergen. And if an allergen isn't in all of the lists of foods, then we get rid of it. So for, I guess we'll say for K in indexes, and we'll say combined is equal to an empty list if, and we'll say I is equal to foods K. So these are the ingredients of food K. And for F in I, if F not in possible, or I guess we could say if F in possible, then combined dot append F, and then at the very end, possible is going to be equal to combined dot copy. Okay. And so then once we do that and we get out of that loop, then, so this is going to run for all the food in K. So then at the very end, possible will only be the list of ingredients, will be a list of ingredients that is common to all the foods that contain a certain allergen. And I just noticed we have an issue. We're not getting rid of the last of the closing parenthesis on one of the ingredients. So what we're going to do to fix that is up here where we parsed out our ingredients is we will go to -1. And let's see if that fixes that. Oh. Okay, and now you can see that we have gotten rid of the closing parenthesis. Sidetrack. Okay, so now we will say for or if length of possible is equal to 1, so we've narrowed it down, then solved curd will be equal to possible 0. Else, so if it still has multiple impossibilities, unsolved cur is equal to possible. So now at this point, if we print solved and print unsolved, let's see what we have here. We have something going on. And I think I see what it is. This possible should be foods I0, so that we're looking at the list of ingredients, not allergens. Okay, and if we print that here, then let's see, is this correct? Okay, and so you can see here, after one iteration, this is what we get for our possibility. So now we need to loop through and continue to solve everything in the unsolved and add it to solved until basically unsolved is empty. So we will say while length of unsolved is greater than 0, still unsolved is going to be another list, and then we'll say for K in unsolved dot keys, the new possibilities are going to be an empty list, and then say for a, well, we'll call this K, or we'll call this key K, And then for value in solve.values, or we'll say for value in solved, unsolved key, if value in solved dot keys, then we'll say if value not in solve.keys, then possible will equal to possible.append value. And we'll say if length of possible is equal to 1, then solved key is equal to possible 0, else solved value, okay, else still unsolved is going to be equal to well, still unsolved key will be equal to possible, and then at the very end unsolved is equal to still unsolved. And if we go ahead and print solved and print unsolved, we'll see if this is working. Okay, infinite loop, bad. And I think I noticed something here. I think with our allergens, we forgot to, we only split them by spaces, so they contain, they were containing commas. So I want to split them up by comma space. And okay, that still didn't help. Okay guys, and I think I may have found the answer potentially. I had a very small brain moment. We want to know if here, when solving still unsolved, we want to check to see if this is in values. If value not in solved dot values, that's why it's called a value. So now if we check that, okay, so you can see here that this represents the first round, and peanuts get solved first, and then by the last round everything is solved, and unsolved is equal to 0. So moving right along now, don't need to print those anymore. We'll just say for well, count is equal to 0, and for ingredients and allergens in foods, for I in ingredients, if I not in solved.values, so this means if this ingredient is not associated to an allergen, count plus equals 1 and print count. So this should be our answer for part 1. 2, 6, 3, 5. Let's go ahead and try it. Okay, and there's the answer for part 1. So now, part 2. Now that you've isolated the inert ingredients, you should have enough information to figure out which ingredient contains which allergen. In the above example, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, we've already figured this out. Arrange the ingredients alphabetically by their allergen and separate them by commas. Okay, so we've already solved which ingredient goes to which allergen. So let's go ahead and say 2. So bad ingredients is going to be empty. So basically, we're just going to say for, well, The ingredients are in solve.values. Okay, for I in solve.values, bad ingredients dot append I, and then bad ingredients dot sort, and then we'll say our canonical is equal to a blank string, and for bad ingredient, or for I and bad ingredients, canonical plus equals I plus a comma, because we are going to be separating them with commas, and then print canonical, and we want to print it without the last comma on it. So we'll just get rid of the last comma, and let's go ahead and see if this is our answer. And let me take a look real quick. All right, guys, and I think I figured out the issue. So they said that they want to arrange the ingredients alphabetically by their allergen and then print the ingredient list. So we're going to change this. We're going to say for I in solve.keys, so that gives us the allergens, then sort that, and then we are going to do for I in bad ingredients canonical solved I, and that should give us the correct sorting. Let's go ahead and see that. Control C. And there's the answer. So there you have it. Day 21 of Advent of Code 2020. And hopefully I will have day 20 yesterday up soon if I manage to solve it. And if not, I do have part 1 solved, so I can just upload that. But I'll catch you tomorrow for day 22.